Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Triple P Show tonight. I am your host, Pat's Path Predictor, as I'm pulling it up right now, I'm getting the rest of my guys on right now to join. They're on the call right now, so we're definitely getting some stuff organized behind the scenes. Tonight, I'm the only host for tonight. Ethan WX and David are both not on right now, so whenever and if they do join, I'll definitely let you know. But in the meantime, already off to a good start. Some of the frames definitely dropped for a second, and now they're back. So at least we can kind of get that out of the way. So that's what we're doing right now. So we have a few topics that we're going to be going ahead and get into tonight. We're going to start off with the upcoming heat wave that's going to be coming up across much of the United States. We're also going to be talking about some El Nino stuff, some tropics in the Eastern Pacific, particularly with Fausto and Genevieve, I believe it is, and a few other subtopics that we'll be discussing too. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and introduce our callers on the stream tonight. Let's go ahead and start with the one and only Logan Rounds, aka Tropical Surge. Logan, say hello to the audience.
Howdy, everybody. Pat's number 2 here.
Yes, he is for tonight. Followed by Delta. Delta, say hello to the stream.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Yep, alongside LTW. LTW, how are we doing tonight? You got to get that W, man.
Hello, YouTube.
Yeah.
Welcome.
All right, and we got Trevor on the air as well. Trevor, say hello to the stream tonight.
Hello.
All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, starting off, ladies and gentlemen, we have a pretty significant heat wave that's going to be going on across much of the United States starting tomorrow and going into the next few days. I have the NAM pulled up for it right now. We're going to pull up our surface temperatures just to kind of get right into it and get to the nitty-gritty of kind of what we're looking at and kind of how significant this will be. So starting off, ladies and gentlemen, so we got your NAM. It starts heating up tomorrow as we go, especially across, by the time we get to 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, it starts off especially across much of the Great Plains and parts of California and Arizona, although that's more so desert heat over here. But you are looking at temperatures
Can
in
you share your screen with us?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Thank you
Yes,
for
sorry,
reminding me.
made it.
I keep doing that. All right, there we go. I got COD pulled up for you guys. So this is what we have for the NAM. This is the 18Z NAM that I have pulled up. I'm going to also show the 12Z because those also have surface observations too, at least in terms of them crunching in more numbers and data. But look at this. According to some of the models, you're looking at temperatures not only in the triple digits, but over 110 degrees across other parts of the Dakotas, like South Dakota, Nebraska, according to the NAM. In areas like Kansas, you're looking at 104, 103 degrees Fahrenheit as you go through much of the Great Plains, and even down into Oklahoma, you're looking at over 105 degrees Fahrenheit, even as far south as Oklahoma City and the Red River region. So you're going to want to watch out, and you're going to want to take this very, very seriously right here. So starting off, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our callers tonight, and I'll actually, because since he's been the most interested in this right now, I'm going to turn this over and start with Trevor and get his perspective on this because he's definitely been watching this. He was watching this especially last night. So Trevor, this big heat wave, especially starting tomorrow and going into the weekend, what are we looking at and how warm could these temperatures be and what do people need to watch out for?
How hot this could be, I would say probably above 100 to maybe 110 degrees. Okay. Maybe some areas can get expected of 120, but it's gonna be limited. Particularly where I'm at right now, I'm expected to get over, I believe, between 110 and 115 degrees from what I'm being told.
Wow.
Basically, the central U.S. needs to kind of be aware of if you have any outdoor activities, please bring water with you. stay hydrated to avoid heat stroke. If you have like any like elders nearby in your neighborhood or anything, keep an eye on them. Make sure they don't like, how do you say it, like heat stroke or
Yeah.
heat exhaustion, I think it is.
Yes.
And I think that's it for me.
All right. Thank you very much, Trevor. I'm looking at some of these temperatures as well going into tomorrow into Sunday afternoon. As a matter of fact, this is actually a heat wave that starts out in the Great Plains and actually expands through much of the Midwest and even into parts of the Deep South. I want to check what our dew point temperatures are as well, and these are absolutely very interesting to say the very least. Look at this. This is according to the NAM, but in areas in north central and northern Illinois, dew point temperatures are in the 80s, 81 degrees Fahrenheit, which would convert to a relative humidity, which is pretty interesting, around 73, 74% up there on top of these temperatures in the 90s right now. Temperatures well into the 90s across this area in particular that we're going to want to watch out for. In fact, you're going to want to watch out across much of the eastern 2/3 of the United States, from what I'm seeing, with the exception of like the East Coast over here. But like everywhere from, I'd say, Wyoming all the way to Indiana or even Georgia in the South, you're going to want to watch out for this extreme heat in particular. Looking at temperatures, at least by the time we get to Monday afternoon, in some isolated spots, exceeding 110 degrees in Kansas, over 100 in Iowa and Illinois, and same thing with Missouri, going as far south as Texas, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to other people in the call. Based on what we're seeing tonight and what we've seen over the last few days with some of these models, what are your thoughts, and what should people be preparing for?
All right, I'll go first
All right.
because we have our tornado.
Mhm.
I would say that this is kind of expected just because we are in an El Nino, which basically is the warm phase of the
Yeah.
Earth, per se, for everybody that's new here tonight or needs a
Mhm.
refresher.
Yep.
So the fact that I'm seeing these constant ridges and heat waves coming through the United States, Central Plains, Northeast, all of that, I'm really not that surprised. I mean, 2023 to 2024, we had a very warm summer
Yeah.
and fall. I remember my area hitting 90 degrees in October, and this is central New York for reference, which is probably 35 degrees above average for that time of the year for reference.
Yeah.
So, considering that we are in an El Nino again, I am really not surprised, as that is the heat wave and drought promoting pattern.
100%. Looking at the ridge right here, it's setting up over parts of Colorado, that at least where the biggest high pressure area is, setting up over Colorado and the Great Plains. This is what we like to call our death ridge right here, because there's not much that goes on here other than extreme heat. If you even look at the jet streak right here, ladies and gentlemen, it goes all the way up into Canada and then dives further to the east in areas like Indiana and Ohio. So you're not seeing too much of an argument right here. And the heights that we're looking at are almost 6,000 meters at 500 millibars. For those of you who do not know how anomalous that is, 5,700 meters is typically the normal in Texas. Almost 6,000 is absolutely incredible. It shows you just how much more warm air there is, because warm air is less dense than cold air, and it also expands a lot more. It takes up a lot more space, which is why when you see higher heights at these pressure levels, like almost 6,000 meters, that means there is extreme heat likely building up underneath it, and not just at the surface, but in other areas in the atmosphere, which are contributing to this heat wave. So a bit of an in-depth analysis right here, just based on what I am seeing. And it's not just that I'm looking out for. I'm looking at the dew point. I'm looking at the humidity. I'm looking at a lot of other aspects of this as well. But man, oh man, this has been quite the situation that we're gonna want to watch out for. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Delta. Delta, your stance on what we're seeing, just with just the meteorology behind it and the temperatures we're seeing at the surface. Like, what's your stance on this? What's your take?
Well, with a ridge that is almost 6,000 meters in height, For that, I am not surprised we are seeing extreme temperatures like
Yeah.
this. Like, I also just want to emphasize that even just emphasize for everyone who lives in these areas,
Mm-hmm.
be very always check on your elderly, check on your little kids, and
Yes.
always check the back seat of your car
That is a big
for
one.
pet and your children, because where I'm at in the southeast, this normally just your average highs are enough to cause extreme temperatures inside of a vehicle within 15-20 minutes, which is a very serious concern for kids and pets if left in hot cars, even for 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Always just check.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. With these temperatures right here, you're looking at over 100 degrees across much of the Midwest and the Great Plains. That 15 minutes cuts down to maybe 5 to 10, so single-digit times you have before your cars get overheated. And the reason for that is because the cars, especially on the exterior, are made of metal. They're made of aluminum. And the aluminum over sun isn't the coolest combination. Not in terms of the fact that, oh my god, it looks so cool. In the terms of it's physically not the coolest combination. And what I mean by that is a metal heats up pretty fast in the sun. And that heat carries into the interior of your car, especially if you have a black interior or a darker interior in your vehicle as well. That also plays a big role into that. In fact, the other day, temperature was 95 degrees, and before I even stepped out of my car to go inside somewhere, the temperature had already increased. I'd say a good 10 degrees from when the air conditioning turned off, and that was in a span of about 30 seconds. So that's just a little bit of a personal tidbit of mine, and that's why we emphasize to you guys, and that's why you see so many people, whether it's the meteorologists in your local area or the Weather Channel or whatever sources you see on Twitter, say, make sure you get everybody out of the car. Do not leave them out, especially on a summer day. Not just that, also on a 70-degree day, your temperature in the car can reach into the 90s in some aspects because of that metal exterior of it. So that's something to watch out for sure. But especially going into that, I want to check the European real quickly because I want to emphasize some things right here, because I'm also checking that. Looking at what we're seeing with the Euro, this is the 12Z Euro. It looks to me that the heat waves definitely is pretty interesting. Still seeing those temperatures close to 110 degrees in some isolated spots, but it looks to me that, according to the Euro, it's more so concentrated in the deep south compared to what we saw with the NAM, where it's more concentrated a bit of everywhere in terms of the Midwest and the Great Plains encompassed as well. But 99 degrees Fahrenheit for areas in Alabama, that's not particularly uncommon, but the fact that we're seeing that on top of more Gulf moisture and more humidity is something to watch out for and pay attention to. I will say, Florida, for the most part, doesn't seem to be seems to be staying out of this for the most part, which is some good news over there for some of our audience that is from there. But if you're tuning in from Ohio, West Virginia, all the way to Colorado and all that area in between, you're going to have a pretty significant death ridge to look out for, and we're going to continue to pay attention to it. LTW, you haven't spoken too much on the show tonight. You've been looking at some of this guidance with the pretty extreme heat that we're seeing, whether it's in the Great Plains or in the South. What are your thoughts on it, and in your opinion, what do you think could happen?
So first of all, I would like to comment on Florida because that's my home state.
Sure.
So is Delta, but
yeah.
But anyway, don't count Florida, because Florida, like, even if it's 70 degrees, it's not gonna stay 70 degrees for long because it's a peninsula. It gets really hot and really muggy out really quickly. Like I saw on the NAM, like maybe low to mid 70 dew points. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, I see those dew point temperatures
Wow.
right there. Go.
Oh
Right.
my god, look at that off the shore.
Yeah,
of the
that's in the 80s off,
Oh my god.
right on the Alabama coast too.
Yeah, and look at the Northeast.
Yeah.
Look at the Mid-Atlantic.
Yep.
That is hot.
That's going to be a very muggy weekend and week if that precipitates. Also want I want to check the convection real quickly just to see what's going on over there. Okay, that's part of it is because there is a low pressure system moving through parts of the mid-Atlantic, so potentially some severe weather from this is possible going into Tuesday and Wednesday according to the European as well. So that explains why the temperature and the dew points are so smashed together. But please continue. I apologize for interrupting.
No, you're fine. That's actually really important because
Yeah.
even if that decreases, don't expect it to be like, oh, it's gonna stay like that. No, it's probably gonna rebound.
Yeah.
Like as soon as it leaves. It gets cooler, don't get me wrong. But like when that thing just you know is over there,
Yeah.
it's gonna get bad. And this is I don't think I've ever seen the Mid-Atlantic that warm before. Like that's almost an 80s.
In
It's
terms
almost
of the dew point temperatures?
no, like oh yeah, that's almost
Okay, I just want to make sure we
actually
clarified here.
wow, that's
Yeah.
really that's really muggy. Um
Relative humidity.
yeah.
Yeah, your relative humidity especially has gone up, partly due to the fact there's convection potentially over there as well.
Yeah.
But this is going to be interesting.
The West
Trevor,
is really dry.
Yeah, I was about to say, Trevor, one thing I found interesting is this seems to be more of a drier heat air mass across parts of the Great Plains compared to what we've seen previously. What's your thoughts on that, and what do you think that could potentially do?
What would that potentially do? Increase the heat index. Even if you have a weather station that's like 12 feet above the ground. Which, Pat, can I show you what my weather station did on the 20th?
Yeah, go ahead. Do you have it for us?
Yes, I do. I'm actually going to show it my screen.
Yeah. All right, Trevor's got his stuff pulled up. We'll go ahead and show that to the audience, just to go ahead and do that. So, Trevor, this is your weather station that you have for us.
This is my weather station.
All right.
That heat index right there is 122.7.
Wow.
That happened from a 38 humidity.
38%?
Yeah, 36% of a humidity, and the temperature on during that time was 106.9. So
Wow.
if the humidity is that low, the dew points the dew points can cause this to go up. But if the humidity is like so low to the point where it's in the 30s to 20s, you can get 120 dew point, or not dew point, but heat index with this. So that's something that you just brought up that's very interesting that I should probably be watching out now.
Yeah. All right, Trevor, thanks for showing that to us. Definitely a bit of an definitely gives us some insight as to how this could potentially play out in parts of the Great Plains. But looking at your dew point temperatures across this region, pretty sharp cutoff from eastern Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, further to the west where these higher temperatures are. I think what this is, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at these temps. I think what this is telling me is one of two things here. Number one, compared to what we saw previously with the last heat wave in early July that we had that was making headlines, this is going to be more so a drier heat instead of a more moist heat until this crosses and makes paths with the Gulf over here. The reason I think that is for two reasons. Number one, looking at our 500 heights right here. This is mainly concentrated over parts of the Rocky Mountains, Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico as well. That plays a part into it right here. So it's kind of a drier heat air mass that we're dealing with right here. I remember this from my meteorology classes. There are four types of air that encompass the United States: maritime tropical, continental tropical. I believe it's that's two of them. I believe, at least in
Maritime polar, I think.
yeah, maritime polar and continental polar. Yes. So that the reason I bring this up is this, to me, based on what I'm seeing here, and I just want to take a look at this. First of all, this goes nowhere. This just stays over this part of the United States for at least the entire NAM's run. And based on what I'm seeing, especially based on what I'm seeing with the winds as well, this is more of a continental tropical air mass, which means it's drier, it is warmer for sure, and that mass between continental and maritime tropical is why you get those dry lines during severe weather season, in case for those of you who do not know. It's the separation between a dry air mass and a moist air mass, and that's why convection tends to fire along the dry line when severe weather starts to kick up. So just some more meteorology right there. But this does appear to me to be more of a drier type of heat wave compared to the more moist heat waves where we had temperatures in the 90s, but heat index over 100, 110, 115 in a few areas as well, especially earlier this month. So it's definitely something to watch out for. That's one of the big things that I'm paying attention to as well. But ultimately, it's definitely a situation we're going to want to watch out for. This is the 12Z NAM. This is by Monday afternoon. I don't know how much this is going to hold, but if this rings true, you're looking at about 114, 113 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of Kansas. Nebraska is anywhere from 105 to 110, depending on where you're at. If you're in Oklahoma, similar situation, well over 100 degrees in a lot of these areas. Same thing with Missouri, with the exception of the Ozarks, but even still, you're in the upper 90s. Illinois, you could see up to 100 degrees along the Mississippi River Delta. And if you're further down to the south, you're looking at temperatures well into the 90s. Difference is your dew point temperatures over here from Missouri east are a lot higher. That's going to ramp up your humidity. Your heat index, especially in this part of the U.S., is going to increase compared to the more raw temperatures that you're going to see in the Great Plains. So, and that's kind of another thing that we're looking at. It looks to me that it's kind of the tale of two heat waves, I would say, depending on whether you're further to the west or further to the east of the Gulf. The Great Plains, it looks like it's going to be a drier type of heat wave, where it's going to be more of a moist and more muggy heat wave type situation for those of you going further to the east. In fact, there is a heat advisory and for several areas, matter of fact, across much of the region. I'm going to see if I can pull it up on the NWS site right now. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Yes, there are heat advisories from Colorado all the way to Illinois, with excessive heat watches still in effect for parts of Iowa and Illinois and Wisconsin. You have a few excessive heat. What's up?
By the way, that extreme heat watch, it extends to me.
Okay.
You just can't see it because it overlaps the heat advisory.
Oh, okay. So we have a heat advisory and a excessive heat watch. So basically covering all their bases pretty much. But this is an excessive heat warning for Minneapolis, St. Paul up here. I'm just curious because they don't typically see these kind of temperatures this far to the north. You're looking at dangerously hot conditions of 102. Overnight lows will remain in the mid-70s, according to the extreme heat warning that we have for parts of Minneapolis. This is an area that typically does not see temperatures exceed that much, albeit it still gets very warm in that part of the state and then that part of the country. Believe me, I've been there in the summer, I've seen it. But the fact that we're getting excessive heat warnings for I'm sure what some people in the audience and in the call think is that's just nothing, is definitely very telling in terms of your heat index. Excessive heat warning is also in effect for parts of Oklahoma as well. Taking a look at that. You're looking at heat indexes up to 112 degrees In eastern Kansas, you have an excessive heat warning as well. We're going to pull this up for you guys as well. Looking at anywhere from 110 to 103 degrees. This is not playing around. This is no joke right here. And going further to the east, let's go ahead and head over to parts of Missouri and Illinois.
I'll be right.
Yep, that's fine. Looking at the heat advisory that's in effect over in this part, you're looking at 105 to 110 with the heat index, with temperatures well into the 90s, potentially exceeding 100 according to some models. So ultimately, yeah, it's kind of the tale of two heat waves from what I've seen. A drier heat wave scenario for parts of the Great Plains, and a more moist, muggy, a higher heat index potential heat wave for parts of the Midwest and the Deep South. So it's something that we're going to want to pay attention to going over the next few days. I'll definitely be talking about that in the next couple of days as well, in a couple of videos I'm putting out. But yeah, overall, ladies and gentlemen, we're in for a pretty interesting ride, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our callers and get their thoughts on this and what they should be looking out for the most. And yeah,
I'll go first.
go ahead, LT.
I think I just wow. That's
Yeah.
That's it.
All
I
right.
don't think there's really anything. Just watch your weather stations. You don't just stay inside if you have to, but if you have to go out. Just be sure to wear sunscreen, or just be safe. Don't
Yes.
overheat. And drink water.
Drink plenty of water. Yeah, stay in the shade if you need to. But yeah, thank you very much, LT. Delta Trevor, what are your thoughts?
Hey, Pat, could you pull up on one of those excessive heat warnings, those cities? I want to see what their low temperatures are supposed to be.
Okay, what do you want to? Are you talking about Minneapolis or any of them?
Just any of them.
All right, we'll go ahead and go back up to Minneapolis, and we'll look at our temperatures over here. Yeah, let's take a quick gander. In the in the 70s. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. In Minneapolis, which doesn't seem like it's that bad, but for that part of the country, it's definitely a lot higher than what they're typically used to. And areas like Oklahoma and Tulsa, let's go ahead and show you that as well. Lows in the 80s. High 105, 107.
See, that's when it starts getting a little dangerous.
Yes.
Just because it's not just the hottest part of the day that's hot. It's also the coldest part of the day that's hot. You struggle because when it's anywhere really in the low to mid 80s for your overnight lows, you don't get a reprieve from the heat. For those that are out, they work outside, or they work, or you got the homeless, you've got pets. So it's like you kept your pets inside, but it's still like 84 degrees outside, even at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Not to mention then your dew points, usually your humidity is usually maxed out first thing in the morning, or as high as the highest point is going to be in the morning. So just another thing to keep tabs on.
All right, thank you very much, Delta. Trevor, what do you got for us?
Are you able to look at mine real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
I
Yeah,
think you should know it. I think it's Omaha area.
all right. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and in terms of your low temperatures.
Yeah, in terms of them.
All right, we'll go ahead and head to let's go ahead and head to Omaha. Let's click that. It's Douglas County. In the 70s, mid to upper 70s.
Okay. So that's okay. I'm sure you're concerned about it now.
All right, cool.
So basically, I'm gonna kind of go towards Delta's point about this, that
Sure.
the low temperatures are gonna be the significant part of this. But it's also gonna be the heat index plus the humidity adding on top of it, because it's gonna make it worse.
Yes.
Even if you are so low to the ground, it's going to make it a lot worse, to the point where if you have a weather station outside and it detects above normal, then the heat index, you can either let your National Weather Service know about it, and they can take a look at it. But I think it's interesting how we're having 100 degrees for heat index, almost 100 for me, actually. The second time a year. But it's crazy how some areas are having 100 degrees and their heat index is more higher than expected.
Yeah.
Even if it's in the lower ground areas.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, another point is LT said to drink a lot of water. If you don't drink a lot of water during a heat wave, you can occasionally get a headache from it.
Yeah.
So I highly advise you people that are in this heat wave to at least drink some water to avoid getting headaches, because the headache is obviously the main causer for heat.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Gatorade's not going to do too much.
Can I elaborate on that real quick?
Yes, sir.
For reference too, you can also get heat stroke in this weather. This is hot enough where you theoretically could die if you are not careful. So please
Yes.
drink water, have a plan, be safe, and definitely be careful out in the heat, and try and limit outdoor activity to about 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, and if you are doing outdoor activity, limit it to either early in the morning or late in the evening as well. Another thing I do want to point out is if there is a case of heat exhaustion, put some up, and it's either you or your friend. Let's say if you are under heat exhaustion, one thing I want to emphasize with this is something very important that I just realized is put them in the shade, have them drink small sips of water. Do not give them a lot of water at once. It will make things worse. Give them small sips of water. We're trying to get the temperature of their body back down gradually. And and if things continue to get bad after that, call 911. Matter of fact, call emergency services the first time you see that starting to happen, because we don't want things to get worse. We take this stuff very seriously here on the Triple P Show and the Pat's Path Predictor channel. I haven't exactly dealt with heat exhaustion personally. I'm very blessed that I haven't yet, but I know some people who have. And that is a close one for me, so I just wanted to emphasize that to everybody here tonight. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Trevor or Logan?
I'm going to add on to that a second.
Yes, sir.
For the heat extraction part, if you see anyone like pets, it's your family, pets, neighbor, or someone random you don't know, immediately call 911 or emergency service, as heat exhaustion it can be handled, but heat stroke can't. And you have to call 911 immediately.
Okay. Oh, here's the graphic I was looking. Okay, never mind. That's okay. All right. I'm pulling up heat exhaustion symptoms, heat exhaustion versus heat stroke right here. We're gonna go ahead and this is from Mississippi State University. Here is heat exhaustion versus heat stroke. Thank you very much, Delta. So, symptoms of heat exhaustion are heavy sweating, cold, pale, or clammy skin, fast, weak pulse. You have muscle cramps, tiredness, fainting, nausea, headache, or dizziness. Definitely some of those symptoms we were talking about earlier. Heat stroke, high body temperature, hot, dry, or damp skin. You have a very fast and strong pulse. you get confused, you lose consciousness, you have nausea, headache, and dizziness as well. So definitely something to pay attention to. Like with heat exhaustion, you're sweating a lot. With heat stroke, if you're not sweating, that's going to be a massive problem, especially if you're in the high heat. So, thank you very much, Delta, for letting me
Gotta add
know
on
that.
to that real quick.
Go ahead.
For reference too, pretty sure heat exhaustion, your body reaches a core temperature of 102. Anything over 105, not hyperthermic, but hypothermic, basically meaning that you were very prone to basically burning alive.
That's
Put it simply,
hyperthermia.
the opposite of hyperthermia.
Hyperthermia is too hot. Hypothermia is too cold.
Yeah, hyper, but
Okay.
we get the idea. But yes.
Yeah, we get the idea.
Yes, thank you.
You're good.
Yeah, if you're above 105 degrees, seek emergency services immediately. Don't question, just do it. It's the same as consider the heat like a flood. If you see waters, turn around, don't drown. We tell everybody that to begin with. Take it with the same level of seriousness as you would a flood or a tornado.
All right. Thank you very much, Logan. All right. So I think we've so we've talked about the heat wave tonight. I think the main emphasis is just take it easy. It's going to be very warm for the next little while. You're going to want to pay attention to your temperatures. You're looking at over 100 degrees across much of the Great Plains and parts of the Midwest too. You're going to want to watch out for that. But something Logan mentioned earlier tonight was how El Nino is kind of enhancing this kind of pattern a little bit. Logan, would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, basically El Nino is basically your warm phase.
Yes.
And when you have a warm phase across the largest body of water,
Yep.
that typically causes your atmosphere to warm up, so surface tends to warm up, but it also causes your water temperatures to warm up. So not only do you get atmospheric heat waves, you also get marine heat waves, which leads us into our second point, correct, Pat?
Yes, it does.
Atlantic MDR.
Yep, we are looking at our So that's the next topic for tonight, and that is because we're not just seeing heating up in much of the United States, we're also seeing it across much of the world, including the Atlantic, where we're seeing increasing water temperature surges. We're definitely seeing a lot more of that. I have it pulled up on the Climate Reanalyzer. As a matter of fact, I think someone just opened their stuff up. Never mind. I have the Climate Reanalyzer opened up. And here's what we got for you guys right here. Let's go ahead and start with our water temperature map in general. Then we'll shift over to our anomalies because that's also pretty important. Here is our water temperatures across much of the Gulf, across much of the Atlantic. I do want to comment real quickly on something because the last heat wave, what ultimately happened was, because it was situated over much of the deep south, much of the eastern half of the United States, you had a situation where the water temperatures also surged as a matter of fact, and you do have a little bit of a cold wake from what Bertha did last week. That's not going to stay for very long, especially with these increased heat across much of the U.S. That's going to carry into parts of the Atlantic as well. So we're going to want to pay attention to that. But look at this. As we look at our water temperature check across much of the Atlantic, 30 degrees Celsius across much of the Gulf, with the exception of where Bertha was, 30 degrees Celsius in parts of the Caribbean, 30 degrees in parts of the Atlantic Basin as well. I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. Right here, and you're even seeing it on the Gulf Stream as well. You're seeing those. That on the Gulf Stream too. So you're definitely going to want to pay attention going forward. But one thing we need to emphasize.
Can I interject on something real quick?
Yes, what's up?
Real quick before you go too far, when you said the 30 degrees Celsius in the subtropics, what I should say he's getting at is that does occur normally every year, but this is the earliest it's been.
Yeah, it's the earliest we've seen it. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that so people don't get confused.
Oh, okay, yeah. I misspoke. Yep. My apologies.
Yep.
But yeah, one thing I want to One thing I want to emphasize is this big surge to the east, right here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna go ahead and pull up the Climate Reanalyzer. We're gonna go to climate charts right here. We're going to shift over to the North Atlantic because this is something we've been talking about behind the scenes and a little bit on the stream as well. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Logan. Logan, what exactly do you want to take a look at here, and how and what all do you want to go through with this
I'd like you to
whole
zoom in on the East Atlantic for me.
What's up?
Zoom in on the East Atlantic for me if you could.
Well, it's a little bit difficult for me too, but here you go.
Yep. So keep in mind here, you can see that we have a cold pool in the main development region, which has been a prominent factor for most of 2026.
Yeah.
With some colder waters off of Africa. Now, if you zoom out for me,
Yep.
and then you pull, slide the bar all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Slowly at that.
All right, let's do it day by day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's already gone off.
Marine heat wave.
Yeah.
And then zoom in on that again for me, that same area.
Yep.
Now you see there is no cold pool. There's
Nope.
some waters that are near average, but the cold pool is gone. Also, if you could go back a few days for me, and then zoom in on the Caribbean.
Yeah, we're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's this part.
If you look in, you can see most of the Caribbean was actually below average. Now the last day,
Yep.
we are above average. There's a few two pockets that are about to be warming up, as well as the fact that if you look at Europe, you can see that the waters are very, very warm, which led me to a hypothesis I wanted to bring up because, can you go back to 2023 for me?
Yes, sir, we can. We're going back. We're going to take a trip down memory lane to 2023. Which month?
Particularly March, I want to say. I think it's March.
All right, we're at March.
Mm-hmm. If you could play that through the month.
Yeah, yep, we can do that.
Yep. And zoom in near Europe for me if you could, near Portugal and Spain.
This is where we're at.
Yep. Mm-hmm. If you take a look at Spain in Europe, you can see water originate, the warmest water anomalies originate there. If you compare that with 2026 had the same kind of an ordeal.
Oh, this is January.
So basically,
this is supposed to be March. Okay.
Oh, it works just as well. Honestly, any point in the first half of 2023 really gets the point across. Yep. Go back to 2026 for me.
Yeah, I got you.
And go back to July.
Yep.
If you look really closely, you can see that huge blob that originates off of Europe.
Yep, not just off of Europe, but also off of Morocco as well.
Well, I should say the general area is what I mean. Yeah,
okay.
General area.
All right.
So that got me thinking, could El Niño cause a marine heat wave over that region, in particularly a strong year with climate change? Because this happened in 2023, it's happening again in 2026, which brings up the theory of how is this going to play out very similarly to 2023, in which I should emphasize. Not in the Atlantic hurricane season, because we are already behind that.
Way behind.
But we are running at, yes, we are actually running at climatology, so we're actually running about average right now, Pat, which is a fun fact for you.
Oh, that's interesting. How much ACE did Bertha provide?
2.
Okay, cool.
Behind an ACE, but on par with the average of the climatological mean of 14 storms.
Okay.
You can see the warmth over Europe spreads down to the south, just like it did in 2023.
Yeah.
So that is a telltale signal of a marine heat wave, which both years had a death ridge, as we call it, over Europe and Spain and France and all that.
Yes.
That climate change pattern, which causes those, is what caused your fuel for the Atlantic. So noticing that pattern, that tells me that in the latter half of the hurricane season could pack a few punches and rip out stomachs.
All right. Yep. All
right. Pat, if you want to give your thoughts on that too, that would be very great.
Yeah, I will go ahead and give my stance on this right here. I've been watching it very closely over here. My thoughts on this are as follows. For in 2023, you had a positive PMI on top of this, which I think we still have today, and uh, excuse excuse me, and you also had the fact that the El Nino, while it was strong in 2023, it was completely dwarfed by the SSTs in the Atlantic that just absolutely crushed it underneath its weight. We were looking at anomalies close to 7 degrees Celsius above average in the subtropics, which was very unheard of at that current point. And when I was looking at this,
Can you show them that graph? Can you
what,
show them what you're talking about?
yeah,
Oh,
let's take a look.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to start. Let's go ahead and go up to 2023. This is June 2023. Right here, which was definitely interesting. You have your El Nino. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and switch back to the world view real quickly, because this is what we had. You had your developing El Nino over here in June 2023, but across much of the Atlantic, look at this, especially off the coast of Africa. Over here, you were looking at a pretty significant maritime heat wave that was building up over here off the coast of Morocco, Mauritania, and Western Sahara. Over here, this persisted across much of the fact, and you also had a scenario where you had a slight Atlantic Niño that was getting crushed as well, and just overall across much of the Atlantic, you were starting to see those anomalies starting to increase. Compared to what we have with the El Nino over here, these were dwarfing the anomalies over here, even early in hurricane season at that point. And by the time we look at this, we were looking at our anomalies, at least for parts of June over here, already close to 3 to 4 degrees Celsius above average in several areas. Let's go to July 2023. This is July 2023. This is the end of July. I want to go ahead and go back to this right here, but you were looking at this. The entire Atlantic, with the exception of this, was warm. This is when things really started blowing up over here. Are you guys seeing this off of Newfoundland? These are your anomalies over 7 degrees Celsius as of 2023. This right here...
Show them August 31st.
Yeah, I will in a second. But this right here is why we had an active hurricane season. Well, part of the reason. I'm being a little hyperbolic, but also this region over here off the Cabo Verde Islands and the PMI over here in the Pacific. This was crushing the El Nino underneath its weight. And going back to the world view of this, look at how much warmer the Atlantic was compared to the El Nino in the Enso region in 2023. There is no contest with those anomalies. And then, then it starts to calm down a little bit. The Enso region does start to pick up a little bit of steam. But then let's go ahead and get to August 2023. And this is what we had. So you had this going on. You had more warming going on across much of this. This is what we had for August 31st. Logan, what do you want to take a look at?
I want to take a look at August 31st because that is the day the Atlantic set the record warmest AMO temperature, or around August 31st. And actually, can you go back a few days for me?
Yep.
There's something I noticed.
Hold up. Let me...
I just
North Atlantic.
Switch that over to sea surface temperature.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. What's up?
Yeah, there's a few days back or sometime within the month, I saw something that looked alarming.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's about there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just see that there alone rivaled your El Nino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the way the heat is transferring down to the south and to the west, as you can see on the just north of that.
Oh, yeah.
Proves a very similar theory as to what 2026 may be attempting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back at that as well, yeah, this was your warmest point in Atlantic history ever recorded. And going on from that, your El Nino. Another thing too. Hold on, sorry, jumped all over the place. Another thing too is that your El Nino in 2023 was weaker. So if your El Nino gets stronger in 2026, that begs the question of what will happen in 2027, which time will only tell. Now, can you go back to 2026 for me real quick, Pat?
Yes, I can. Let's go to 2026. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
There's another kind of comparison I want to do here for everybody in the audience.
All right.
So just keep it zoomed out over the whole Atlantic.
All right.
So go to the latest date.
All right.
So you have that today.
Mm-hmm.
And then compare that to last year at this point.
2025. All right.
Mm-hmm. You can see nowhere near as impressive.
Oh, yeah. You also had the Atlantic Niño over here, too.
Which, by the way, is also being crushed under its weight as we speak right now, just like in 2023. The only thing is we have the cold block from the AMOC,
Mhm.
so that might induce some more instability, which is why 2023 you had a lot of storms, but you didn't have as much power to them. For context,
Yeah.
your named storms was 6 storms above average, but your hurricanes and major hurricanes were the climatological average.
Yeah.
That's why with this year, can you go back to this year, please, for me?
What's up?
Can you go back to this year for me, please? Or are you already there? Okay.
Yep.
You can see the cold blob in the northwestern Atlantic,
Mhm.
and you look at the Cabo Verde, and you look at the main development region,
Yeah.
and the subtropics being extremely warm. Something you were bringing up earlier on in the year was that gradient, with that gradient being tight.
Yep.
That begs the question of how unstable will the atmosphere become, because gradients induce baroclinic forcing, which baroclinic forcing can induce tropical-like systems, subtropical
Well,
systems.
Baroclinic forcing has more to do with mid-latitude cyclones.
Yeah, I'm mostly referencing like subtropical transition and tropical
Oh,
transition.
okay.
Or the influence of the energy causing a cause and effect relationship, kind of like a snowball or avalanche effect, as we dubbed it, where it causes one thing in one spot,
All
and
right.
then it causes something to occur in another spot.
All right. Cool.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Please continue.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I'm wondering if this year is going to actually end up being a close to average season, because signs are pointing towards more activity than I thought. But despite the average, I think the storms are going to be very active this year for the ones that do manage to form. Kind of like a 2025 situation, but maybe not as extreme due to all the vertical wind shear and dry air.
Sure.
Because El Nino basically likes to behead tropical systems where you don't know how strong or how weak the storm would get.
Yep.
And something else I want to point out too, it only takes one storm. Well, the amount of landfalls that we've had this year versus last year, just going off of landfalls alone, we already tied last year for landfalls. 2 in the United States this year, 1 landfall in the United States, 1 landfall in Jamaica. Obviously,
Okay.
the damages were extremely different. It's
Yeah,
like
we
comparing
had.
a baseball
Yeah, we're
to
having more
moon.
homegrown storms this year than last year. That's for sure.
Also, this Gulf has been untapped since 2024, with the exception of Tropical Storm Barry, which was brief and really, arguably, even if you consider that a tropical storm.
Okay,
nature.
Logan, I'm sorry to cut you off, but there is something I do want to emphasize with that point right there, and that is that at
Yes, go
least
ahead.
in terms of what we saw during the winter last year, a lot of the Gulf water temperatures cooled off pretty considerably mainly because of the fact that fronts can cross into the Gulf region. They can't cross into the Caribbean. That's a whole other story. But in the Gulf, they get a lot of cold fronts, and they get a lot of upwelling due to the fact there are a lot of winter storms that sometimes move through there. At least, not winter storms, but like low pressure systems generally in the winter, which is what triggers a lot of upwelling, and which is and kind of cools down your water temperature and drops your OHC down. So to say that it's been untapped since 2024, it's not like the Caribbean where the water temperatures are going to stay about the same and the OHC is going to stay about the same. There's a lot more at play over there and in the southwestern Atlantic because of fronts and because of the influence of mid-latitude cyclones on top of that. So I just wanted to emphasize that real quickly, mainly because, yes, it hasn't, quote-unquote, been untapped since 2024, Milton, for example, but we can't make that the same argument in the Gulf that we can in the Caribbean because of those other factors that happen from the continental United States. So That's just kind of my stance on it, Logan. So take
I
it.
should rephrase because
Yeah.
I kind of worded that wrong. I
Okay.
mostly mean the fact that last year we didn't use any of the ocean heat content that was in the Gulf, which was record levels. This year, if we reach that record level again, that energy may be tapped. And that's
Let's
why I
take
say
a-
it's been untapped because
Yeah.
that's what I should have said. So
Okay.
my apologies on that.
That's fine.
But
Let's
that's what I was getting at. Not so much the sea surface temperatures because that is different because those are going to fluctuate without any tropical systems, as you just said.
yeah.
Anyways, back to you.
That's fine. I wanted to take a hold on. I want to see if I can take a look at this real. Let's look at the North Pacific. Okay, I want to take a look at this real quickly because I'm looking for. Geez, I'm looking for the time I can see with this. Let's see, 2023, 2025. I want to look at this. I want to go ahead and go to July 2025 and find, and yeah, what's the date? The 24th. And I want to take a quick gander at our North Atlantic. Okay, okay, never mind. This is not going to let me do that. Never mind, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, in terms of the OHC arguments as well, it maybe retains a little bit of it. Over the winter, but with the exception of the loop current, there's not too much that kind of gets generated. That's why you kind of start from zero, like everywhere outside of the loop current, because the loop current has a lot of warmer, deeper waters that don't get as affected by those fronts and all that stuff, but everything else around it does, mainly because of how shallow the Gulf is too. Along the Gulf region in particular, that's where the continental shelf is. So just thought I'd emphasize that real quickly. So, yeah. All right. All right. I'm gonna go back to the climate reanalyzer real quickly. Yeah. Is there anything else? Yeah. Is there anything?
Should emphasize.
Yeah.
I should emphasize that we do not know what the Atlantic is going to do going on later in this year. Because something
Sure.
I do want to bring up is that the 2023 marine heat wave that led to record warm sea surface temperatures occurred into the winter into the spring. Well, this is occurring into the summer, which has never
Okay.
happened before. So it's a similar situation to going into 2023 and not knowing what's going to happen. So the
Yeah.
question now that I ask is what would happen because of the time frame of when this is occurring, because this has never occurred to this degree at
Mhm.
this point in the year. It has occurred to this degree, but just at a different point.
All
So
right.
that has me questioning how is that going to impact things going forward.
Yes, sir.
That is my last point to make about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Logan. Another question Chase in the chat was asking me about was, can we describe why the Atlantic Niño / Niña is important for? Let me see what the question was once again. Chase, thank you for asking that. Can you explain how important the Atlantic Niño and Niña is? So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that for a couple of minutes, if that's all right with you, Logan.
Yeah, would you like me to explain it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so basically, your Atlantic Niño and your Atlantic Niño are basically homegrown El Nino index, basically, as I call it, but inverted. So think of it as in like rising and sinking, with
Yeah.
colder waters, sign of sinking, warmer waters, sign of rising. Tropical cyclones like rising air and rising motion because warm waters, it
Right.
rises, convection starts, and then storm gets going.
Yeah.
If your waters are warm in the Atlantic, it's off of Cabo Verde, or
Mhm.
not Cabo Verde. It's the I forget what it's called exactly, but it's in that region where it makes or breaks your difference of if your storms will be stronger or weaker coming off of Africa. That influences your African monsoonal jet and troughs.
Yeah.
Basically, your colder waters will induce sinking and subsidence, which will cause your storms to be weaker and have a harder time developing and forming, which is what happened last year, as opposed to Atlantic Nino, which enhances your precipitation because more rising motion, more convection. That will increase your activity in the African monsoonal jet stream, and then that will produce more tropical waves, which, if you could go to 2024 for me real quick.
2024, yeah, we can do that. What
and
month?
Globally at that. Any.
I'll do July.
Yep, and then zoom out to the world again for me.
Yep.
If you zoom in, let's see, go to about the first half of the month. This will be the
Yeah.
let's see what they the best. Right about there works, honestly.
Sure.
You can see that if you zoom in right over where that Atlantic Niño would be for me, please.
Yeah.
So right off
I got
of
you. Yep.
the equator of South America, Africa.
Yeah.
You can see here, as you noticed when Pat was going through the slides of the day,
Oh.
the pattern is more variable
Mm-hmm.
than the El Nino because the waters are shallow, and it's also a much smaller area of scale because the El Nino, you're going all the way from Indonesia to Peru,
Right.
as opposed to Brazil to Sierra Leone, for example, which is that tiny country that looks like a weird I don't know how to describe it, but basically, right where you see that little indent, which looks like an Adam's apple on
Yeah.
Africa, from there to Brazil, you get the idea.
Yep. We get the. Yep.
That's a much that's a much smaller area to cover, so that's going to cause more variability, and it's actually influenced by the El Nino and all planetary climate factors because that's how
Right.
all the waters work. So basically, the Atlantic Nino will also reduce your activity overall in the Atlantic because not only will you have less waves going into the Atlantic, which will moisten your atmosphere as a splashdown effect, as we call it.
Right.
That also promotes more wind shear and dry air because you don't have as much storms taking advantage of flow, and then that sinking causes more winds to rush towards the lower pressures that are forming, and that causes a bit of vertical wind shear, which basically, to put into context, I'm going to kind of veer off a little bit for this. This is an example.
All right.
Your Santa Ana winds that is driven by the gradient between a high and low pressure.
All
When
right.
you have your Santa Ana winds, they're really strong, but if you were to have a tropical system, those Santa Ana winds would likely tear the tropical system apart. It's basically like that in the Atlantic.
Right.
You have a bunch of winds influenced by the isobars in the pressure. So basically, that will create more isobars. It'll make things stronger, but it'll make the dry air stronger, is more so than anything. So your isobars will increase with higher pressure and decrease the lower pressure. So you'll have a higher pressure overall in the Atlantic because it sinks and warms and dries out. So your isobars will be more high pressure based in an Atlantic Nino,
All
cause
right.
and effect as we call the avalanche, and then in an Atlantic Nino, you'll have more lower pressure for sinking, rising and cooling, which is really good for instability.
Yep.
And then that encompasses a more lower pressure isobar in the Atlantic, which promotes more storm activity. I think I got everything.
All right, thank you very much, Logan. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to our other guys in the call, LT, Delta, and Trevor. What are your thoughts on what we've seen over the last, say, since the 1st of July in the Atlantic, and what can we take? And someone just joined the call. It's David
Hello,
Schlotthauer is on the show. David, you're on the air.
Hey, Pat. Sorry, I am one a little too lazy to go up in my room, and two, it's hot up there. It's like 94 degrees. It's
Oh,
been really
geez.
hot. So I'm not desire to actually go up there. It's actually a bit cooler outside than it is upstairs in my room. So
Jeez.
I'm just gonna be on the phone for this show.
That's fine. That's fine. You're good for that. Yeah, you're not the only one that's, I'm sure, is dealing with that, because we talked about the heat wave earlier across much of the United States. We're kind of also talking about the SSTs in the Atlantic, and kind of a little bit of El Nino as well, too. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything tonight that we're talking about. But so. All right, so yeah, we were just finished up talking about the Atlantic Nino, why it's important, and all of that as well. David, if you want, David, you've just got on the show. I'll watch. How do I segue this? I would say, yeah, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to segue this. I'm stammering for a second. Guys, can you help me out here?
Just roll with it at
Okay.
this point.
Okay, I'll just roll with it.
Yeah,
All right.
rolling with it's better to roll and make your feet dry from all the
Yeah.
air than stuck in the mud.
All right, dude. Okay, so David, David, since you're here, we did talk about the heat. We talked about the influence of El Nino on potential heat waves a little bit earlier. What's your thoughts on that? And I want your stance on. On the influence of that. Let's go ahead and just start with that. And let's just segue into that.
So I would have to do a lot more research, but I
Sure.
think there's definitely a connection with the strength of El Nino and more frequent heat waves happening across the United States. Like this year, it seems like this El Nino is so strong right now at this point
Yes.
that I feel like the worst heat waves have been in the Midwest, like in the high
Yes.
plains. That's where it's been the worst. With the desert Southwest actually sparing, we have only had, I think, 1 or 2 days of temperatures at or above 100 degrees, according to my Davis weather station,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty. It's sort of rare. It's a bit of unusual. Usually by this time of the year, we usually have at least 10 to 15 days with temperatures of at least at or above 100 degrees. Um, During the hottest summer ever on record a couple of years ago, we were already on day 25 or day 30 with temperatures at or above 100. But this year, it's been quite nice. And I think it's because El Nino's influence on the atmosphere right now is so strong that the subtropical jet just for the summertime is running much stronger than it should.
Yeah.
And it's keeping the high further east of us. So it means like the Midwest is seeing the hottest weather and the deep south. However, though, by the middle to the end of next week, though, that high is actually going to retrograde back across the west.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many locations, not just a few, that could have temperatures at or above 120 degrees. Phoenix could be challenging 123 degrees. And some of you in the chat might say, oh, it gets like that all every summer, David.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Not every summer. 124 potentially expected for Phoenix, Arizona. That is outrageous. Cathedral City, Palm Springs could get up to 120, 125.
Mm-hmm.
Death Valley could challenge 130 to 135.
Jeez.
Can I add
Yeah,
on
that's
something to that real
serious.
quick?
With hold on.
Let David
With
finish.
this, yes. With
Yeah.
this, overnight temperatures in Death Valley might only get to as low as 100 degrees. It could be possible that temperatures do not get below 100 degrees for at least 2 or 3 days at a time.
This is in the desert, in Death Valley.
Yes. Yeah, Death Valley is in the desert. It's about 250 feet below sea level.
Yeah, I get that part. The reason I bring that up is because usually in the desert, you would think that temperatures would actually be a lot colder than that, but if it's getting over 100 at night, that's going to be a massive problem for anyone who lives there.
Well, the thing is, Pat, though, is the air
Mhm.
mass in the desert southwest in the winter or summertime is incredibly hot. I mean, there's no sea breeze, there's no humidity. So, oh my gosh, and there's a freaking
Oh, David's cut out for just a second.
pretty.
Yeah, he's cut. All right, he's cutting in and out. We'll give him a sec. We will give him a second, to get everything taken care of. But yeah. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's quite the situation we're dealing with. Across much of the Southwest. And I was looking at the model, as a matter of fact, the European in particular. I was looking at. And David's right. It actually is it does actually towards the end of this week does retrograde a bit further to the west. But another thing I want to point out is we were talking about this earlier tonight. The heights in Nevada, Utah, California, and Arizona are over 6,000 meters at 500 millibars. That is that is insane, especially for this part of the United States over here. And yeah, it does retrograde and it moves out of it slowly moves further to the west and kind of stays concentrated over California, as a matter of fact, throughout the rest of that European run. So definitely something to pay attention to for that. But those in the call who are just hearing what David was talking about, what are your thoughts on that? And you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I have a point to add on to what
Yes,
David
sir.
was saying.
Yep.
So first up, I want to bring up the fact that El Nino does have a linking to the droughts and heat waves.
Mhm.
And a famous example is actually one of the strongest El Ninos on record back in 1877.
Oh.
That was known to cause a global worldwide drought that I don't remember all the details. This is more of a Trevor question, I think.
Sure.
But I do know 1877 was considered one of the worst El Ninos on record that killed many people because of how hot it was. And there was something else too that I'll come back to later. So I think Trevor, you had that.
All right,
and
Trevor,
if
you're on
wanna
the.
talk
All right,
about-
Trevor, you
hold
got the
on.
floor.
Hold on a second. Let me open my computer up and type Super El Ninos.
All right, that's fine. All right, that's fine. Thank you very much. Delta LT, what are your thoughts?
I'll go first. Yeah, by the way, I think I may know some of the 1877 season what it caused.
Mhm.
I know it caused a massive famine in China and Brazil.
Yeah.
Trevor, you could back me up if I'm right or correct
Yeah,
me if
he's-
I'm wrong.
Oh.
Okay, so it caused the Great Famine of 1876 to 78 in India, China, and Brazil. Caused the North America in North America. It caused the event was known as the year without a winter because unreasonable warm weather in the current areas.
Oh, I know exactly. I remember my professor talking to me about that. Go ahead.
This Super El Nino killed over, I think it was 50 million people, or about 3 to 4% of the estimated population in disasters.
Oh, wow. All right.
Mhm.
All right, Trevor. Thank you very much for that. What I will say is that first of all, if we're looking at temperatures, I mean Phoenix, Arizona, over 120 degrees. I've been to Phoenix with temperatures at a high of 105 before. Not 120. Granted, they don't have to deal with the humidity, thank God for that, but they still have to deal with the dry heat and all of that too. So that's something to consider. What's up?
Actually, you're right on that mostly, but during the monsoon season, it'd be surprising. Dew points there can actually get into the mid to upper 60s to lower 70s.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, it can get up to 105 to 110, but add in dew points in the 70s. Yeah.
Let me take a quick look. When is Arizona? Yeah, I keep forgetting when Arizona's excuse me. I keep forgetting when Arizona's monsoon season is. Is it around this time? Around this time of year, or is this?
It starts. So the Arizona monsoon usually starts like in early July, late June, but
Okay.
really early July until about late August into early September.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
when the monsoon is really, yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, I'm starting to notice that too, based on even just looking at the euro. You're looking at those dew points up there. Yeah, temperatures of 120. Yeah, temperatures 120 degrees over there in some areas. With that dew point, that's what does the humidity typically get up to over there? With that kind of with that kind of dew point temp. David, what's your what typically is the humidity in that part of the country with that heat and that kind of dew point from your experience?
Well, usually humidity there is about 20 to 30%, but that is still uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's dry. It's a dry heat to some extent. Sorry, the wind is blowing out here, so it might get on camera.
That's fine.
But the humidity, the dew point is one thing, the humidity is another thing, but the dew point really gives us an idea. Is the air really moist overall?
Yeah.
Is it dry? When you get dew points about 70 degrees or higher, that's pretty uncomfortable. Even if the humidity is rather low, you kind of consider it being dry heat, but there's more air. Yes. Versus if the dew point is like 40 degrees and the air temperature is like 120, then that's very dry. I don't know exactly how dry in relative humidity it is, but I would probably bet on humidity would probably be in the single digits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks for the info, David. That definitely educated me quite a bit. But yeah, you were bringing up, you were bringing up earlier, temperatures over 100 degrees at night in Death Valley, and I was like, holy crap, that's crazy. I also looked too, David, at your height, your high pressure system and your ridge. Yeah, it looks to me that it is retrograding, and by the time we get to the end of the European run, it moves over California, and it actually kind of stays and hovers along the west coast over there. What's your thoughts on that? And have you ever even seen this before? Because that's at least from my experience, that's pretty unusual.
Oh, it happens a lot during the summertime.
Okay. I'm not paying attention too much.
But exactly how strong the high is at that time, we don't know. It's bouncing around a little bit on the model runs, but I do definitely see it being much hotter next week, at least for our area here.
Mm-hmm.
Where I live. We're looking at temperatures between about 95 to about 105 at least. Away from where I live, like in Fresno and Red Bluff and Bakersfield, probably be between about 105 to 110.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be extremely uncomfortable for anyone. Yeah, it's
I would also just like to say that
yes, sir.
Temperature that high in Death Valley, it's I haven't experienced it, but I have read a lot about it. That temperatures of 130 in Death Valley on those days, it is almost just too painful to breathe because of how hot and dry those conditions are. It literally almost hurts your damages your lungs breathing air that temperature.
Okay, I also bring up something else too. This is that second point I was mentioning earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Those temperatures are almost global records, by the way. I'm pretty sure the global record temperature ever recorded was in Death Valley at 136 degrees. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. That's the other thing I want to bring up. So if we're seeing 134 and 135 degrees, could we theoretically break the world's record this year with how warm they could get? Yes. Theoretically.
David, didn't Death Valley break their record fairly recently? From before?
I can't recall that. It was close. I think it was like 130, 131, maybe 132. But
we came close. Okay, we came close.
Yeah.
134 in 1913. Modern temperatures reached 130 in July 2021. Okay.
So
yeah,
I'm
gonna need to look at some charts.
I would probably expect it to get as hot as about 130, maybe 131 in Death Valley. This heat wave.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking because 134, man, that's your record right there. That's a very insane temperature too. So, all right, okay, all right. So, jeez.
Which means the ground temperature, like within the contact layer, could reach temperatures of about 160, 170 degrees.
Define what's the contact layer?
That's like the low, like from about where your feet are on the ground to about at least 1 or 2 feet above the surface.
Ooh.
Yeah, about at least up to 170, maybe even 180.
Okay, I just found this. The highest ground temperature ever recorded in Death Valley was a Furnace Creek, 1972, July 15th. It was 201 degrees.
Wow.
That
My
is what
gosh.
that ground, if you were barefoot, would give you first degree burns just standing on it.
Yeah.
Let alone like on any pavement or sidewalking or anything.
Yeah, that is near boiling point with those temperatures.
Yeah, you could actually cook pasta on the ground if
Legit.
possible. If it was,
Yeah.
sheesh.
Yeah, legit. Man. But yeah. All right. So all right. So we've definitely talked about that aspect of it. Okay. So we've covered the heat wave. We've covered El Nino's impacts on the heat wave to some extent, as well as the fact that we're seeing ungodly temperatures as well, and ungodly temperatures as well across much of the southwestern United States. And man, we've been doing quite a bit in terms of that. We've covered a lot. So, all right, so we've done all of that. What else do we want to cover tonight, or if we want to keep talking about this?
I believe the next thing is the Mediterranean sea surface temperatures.
You guys, let's go ahead and lumber our way over there and talk about that because we'll do a nice little segment on that, and then we'll shift over to the East Pacific if that's all right with you guys.
Perfect to me.
All right, so here's our Mediterranean sea surface temps right here. At least I have the anomalies pulled up on the global scale. I'm gonna see if I can go on tropical tidbits and get a better view of this because, that way, so that way I can take a gander at this. Okay, so forecast. Okay, it's forecast models, and actually no, I'll just go to analysis tools and ocean analysis, and let's see. It's okay. It doesn't give us anything with that. Okay, I'm looking through this. Let's see, it's tropical Atlantic. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and go to what I was originally looking at. That was our. Let's see. Hey, do you guys have anything I can pull up for that? Do you guys have any visuals?
Cyclonic WX.
It's like,
I believe
Yeah, I have
Cyclonic
it.
WX
I have
has
it
it.
up right
okay,
now.
I need to start using this more. Let's see.
Yeah.
Sorry
Like I said,
guys.
it'll be your best friend.
Yeah, I've been a little jumpy tonight. Let's see. South Atlantic, no. Southeast Pacific. Let's see. North Atlantic doesn't give us much.
Hey, Pat.
Yeah, what's up?
Before you
Mediterranean.
say
I
anything-
found it. Yep.
Wait, Pat. Before you say anything, it's CRW. You gotta change it.
Oh, okay. Oist.
Yep.
SST, yeah. All right. So we got this pulled up for right here. This is the Mediterranean sea temperature anomalies. I'll see if I wonder if I can get a GIF of this as well, just to make it look a little nicer. Okay, perfect. Right here. So, in lieu of our heat wave in Europe earlier in July, we had some pretty record-breaking or near record-breaking SSTs in the Mediterranean Sea. We're just talking about this briefly because this is pretty interesting, and at least from what I've heard in the past, it might have an effect on a hurricane season or not. I'll have David verify that with me, but here's what we're looking at. But what do you guys want to discuss? I'll turn it over to our callers. What do you guys want to discuss?
All I'm gonna say really quickly,
Yes, sir.
is because with the above average sea surface temperatures in the Mediterranean Sea, that can have, in this case, it might have a bit of a negative. See, I haven't really done a lot of research on that area.
Yeah,
but if
that's fine.
if I could say anything about this, it might actually lead to a further progression of the intertropical convergence zone, more north than it should be for the month of, say, August or September.
Oh,
Yeah. And if it's too far north in a certain degree, that could actually negative as in be a detrimental impact on the hurricane season, because when these tropical waves come off from a more northerly latitude, they tend to recurve sooner,
yeah,
and they tend to be weaker as well,
yeah.
because the water temperatures in the further north you go are actually cooler off of Africa than if they come off further south. That is one of my hypothesis theories with above average sea surface temperature anomalies in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
Comparatively, if they are cooler, where that intertropical convergence zone could be a little further south.
All right. My question for you then is, how far north is too far north for the ITCZ?
I would probably say about anything north of about 22 degrees, 21.
Oh, all right. David is muted once again. So he said 22
Hold
degrees.
on. Oh, did I accidentally mute? I thought I was unmuted this whole time. Okay.
You're
so
good.
Anything,
You're good.
I'd say anything north of about 20 to 21 degrees north in latitude is too far north.
So that's near the Western Sahara and Morocco, northern Mauritania. At that point, that's very far north. Like, that's north of the Cabo Verde Islands. We thought Aaron emerging off of Africa was very far north, and is very far north, as it was impacting the Cabo Verdes before it moved further to the west. Okay, that is interesting. Thank you, David, for letting me know about that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, to everybody else in the call, what are your thoughts on our hypothesis here and the water temperatures in the Mediterranean in general?
Pat?
Yep.
You may want to take a look at the VC chat.
Yes, sir.
Also, David is definitely right. I can tell you that based off of how like the dynamics work in the first place. Because if your intertropical convergence zone goes too far north, it's going to favor your mid-latitude cyclones and subtropical development, and that's going to leave your area to the south of the ITZZ dry. This is based off of a concept. I'm sure you remember this. It's the polar, the Hadley, and there's a third cell type. If that alters the cell circulation, your dry air, which is normally 30 degrees, may shift further north, and then that those cells that cause dry air to the south may also shift north. So it may cause a brief disruption where your 30 degrees is the more moist environment, and your 0 degrees is the more dry environment. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but holy hell.
That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, LT told me to look at what's going on in chat. I have it pulled up for right here. This is interesting. Is this
Serge, I'm gonna let you talk about. I'm gonna hand the torch to you for now, and then I'll come back like when you're done talking about this. Is that fine?
Alrighty.
Yep.
All right. Here's Here's something I pulled up from Arizona State sea surface temperature anomaly graph. This is also really good, Pat, by the way, if you
Yep.
ever want to use this.
All right.
Basically, it gives a more accurate representation of how the excuse me, the Mediterranean is acting. And I was using this to see if we did, in fact, break a record. And by the looks of things, we did.
Yes, we did
Earlier
briefly.
on, a few days ago, yet we also seem to have slightly broken a previous record, which I can only guess is 2023. And
Yeah.
we also almost tied the overall record warmest average ever observed in the Mediterranean to this point in time, which is insane to think
Wow.
about, which is why I also wanted to bring it up as well, because
Mhm.
my thoughts are it could be an influential impact on the Atlantic hurricane season, the global patterns of the heat, as this is mostly heat related discussion, and that is why
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, LT. What else do you got?
I just wanted to make a comment about the med.
Mm-hmm.
So there, yeah, that heat wave has something to do.
Yeah, hold on. Let me check something real quickly. Worst case scenario, I have this recorded too, and I can work some magic that way. So, yeah. All right. Okay. Cool. I think we're back. We're back. We're good.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Go ahead. What do you want to go through, LT?
Can you go to SSTs?
I'm already. Oh, the SSD.
See,
Oh, yes.
yeah, sea surface.
Got him right here.
Yeah. That's all I need to say.
Mm-hmm.
Those waters could easily support a hurricane.
In
No
theory, if
doubt.
it happened in the Mediterranean, yes. In theory.
If it happens, it's just so hard to get because
You need the right
it's
kind of
just,
conditions for that.
yeah, it is so hard to get. Maybe you could get at least one, but like it's just so close to land. The only way that you can get anything is north of Libya, in like that area. You see where it's a bit cooler, like in between south of the Adriatic Sea and north of Libya. Yeah, that area.
Yeah, I know
is
exactly
where
what
you
you're
would
talking
get
about.
some stuff. But yeah, that could, and plus the OHE is not much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, LT. All right. I want to go ahead and I want to go ahead and segue into another topic right now before we to another topic, and and Logan, you wanted to segue into you wanted to segue into to another topic. What do you want to go ahead and do?
I want to bring all this together because the correlation here is heat, and heat.
Yes.
So now that has me wondering El Nino's global impacts on heat waves. For example, Europe, Japan, United States, all of that, and just kind of like discuss our thoughts on that, and then just go from there.
Yeah, I'll need to do some more data and some
So, Pat, let's
research
start
on.
with you.
I need to do some more data and research on that, but I will tell you this: we've definitely, at least for Europe, there's definitely seems to be kind of a correlation from what I've seen. I think we had a heat wave in 2023 over there as well too, but I'll need to do some research. I want to see something real quickly on the climate. I wanted to see something real quickly on the the IRI. Let's see, 2003. 2003 in El Nino. I'm pretty sure it was.
I don't think so. I think it was 2002 and 2004.
Okay. Reason I'm asking is because 03 was that big heat wave.
Hold on.
Go ahead,
I can disclose that real quick because I have
Yep.
something that just proves your point.
Okay.
El Nino 2003.
That
Nope.
explains it.
My
Thank you
apologies.
very much, Trevor. Yeah, we had a heat. Yeah, the reason I bring that up is because we had a heat wave in 2003 in Europe that killed tens of thousands of people, especially in France and Germany, I believe it was. Yeah, we had another one 2023. In terms of Japan and Asia and the rest of them, I don't know, but I know that Super El Niños definitely can influence the jet and the troughs and the ridges and all of that because of how powerful it can get. So I wouldn't rule that out, but I'll need some more data. But we do have a few examples that I can go off of. That's my take. But I just need to do some more research on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt here.
No, you're good.
Back to the heat wave. Back to the heat wave for the Southwest. So,
Let's
Colin
talk about it.
McCarthy, which is
Mhm.
Colin McCarthy, which I believe is a certified meteorologist. He has an AMS degree.
Mhm.
About that ridge for the desert Southwest, confidence is increasing in a severe, long-duration, historic heat wave across the Southwest, expanding into California next week and lasting into early or even mid-August.
Jeez.
This could bring prolonged, widespread, severe, extreme heat across much of the state, potentially breaking near all-time records and greatly increasing fire danger. And
Yeah.
so, the geopotential height for much of the desert Southwest, including for Central and Southern California, could be in the 99th percentile to historic record max possible for the month of July.
That is not fantastic.
And I will give you proof. I will
Yeah,
give
go
you
ahead.
proof. So you could show this on stream if you want. Let me see. Where is the chat at? Okay, here it is. This is
Yeah.
pretty serious.
Let me see. Yeah.
There. I just posted it in chat.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's your yeah. We were just looking at this earlier. These are over 6,000 meters at 500 millibars. That is pretty excessive.
Actually, to be specific, it might peak at 602 decameters.
Jeez. That doesn't sound too fun.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. Wow. David, thank you very much for sharing that. Any other thoughts on any other thoughts on the El Nino and heat waves across the world before we start pivoting again? Because I already gave my
that
thoughts.
linkage mostly was Europe is something I wanted to look at because that, like I was mentioning earlier, was something that happened in 2023
Mhm.
into 2024. Now it's occurring again in 2026. Now I'm not sure if that's occurred commonly in other years, but the linkage between the 2 years has me wondering.
Logan, I'm having
will
a
that-
hard time hearing you. Hearing you. Can you speak closer to the mic?
Yeah. Does that sound any better?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's the headphones. Sorry.
You're good.
My thought process is if the El Nino was in 2023 and in 2026, in both years Europe had an extreme heat wave. My thought process is after those extreme heat waves, which were caused by El Nino's influences, would that do it to the rest of the Earth? And we can see that also affects the water temperatures, which leads into the next point. The El Nino's impacts on marine heat waves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Which, for example, we were talking about with the Atlantic so far.
Oh, yeah, we've definitely talked about that. Is there any other region you want to go for?
The East Pacific, actually.
Let's do it. Let's go to the EPAC, and we're gonna do that. We're gonna go to do this. We're gonna do anomalies. I have this pulled up. All right.
Yeah.
Ready when you are.
Yeah, because my thought process is, I'm wondering if marine heat waves are more common in the East Pacific because at the moment there are 9 degrees Celsius thermocline subsurface anomalies
Oh yeah.
below Niño 3.4 region, which is unprecedented. So that has me wondering if there's been any sign of marine heat wave, because since the beginning of the year, the PMM in the East Pacific Main Development Region have been exceptionally warm. LT, if you want to go back to that one site I showed you that has a graph on the East Pacific,
Sure.
could you put that in the chat for me,
All right,
please?
LT, go for it.
Continue.
Yep. Do you want me to screen share?
Yes, please.
Do it.
All right.
Let me go.
Let me go ahead and show it to the stream. All right, ready when you are. And that is interesting.
Oh, well, I mean, this is global,
Yeah, it's global, but
but
sure.
Yeah, hold on, I'll find it. I'll put the image in chat, and then
Yeah.
Pat, you can show that to them.
Okay.
Hold on just a
That's fine.
yeah,
All right, let me go ahead and switch this back over here. Okay, cool. Do that. We'll close that. Logan will give us that, and then we can do that. But yeah, this is your thermocline right here, folks. This is quite interesting to say the very least. Let me see. Well, this is what's underneath the El Nino as of right now. You're looking at anomalies close to 9 degrees Celsius above average, around 1 to 200 meters below the surface. The main question is, does this come up, or does it stay further down? And Logan's got it for us right here. All right, we're pulling it up right here. So, ready when you are.
All right. So So this is kind of like a thought and response question of my own, kind of like a the idea of like asking and answering my own question here with the marine heat wave.
Yeah.
I can say though, with the East Pacific and the Central Pacific, actually, based on these graphs, I would say that they had an extreme marine heat wave, which kind of falls back onto the other theory of the El Nino globally warming your temperatures up, such as the 1877 outbreak, the 2023 event, which was at the time the hottest year on record, until of course this year is set to break that pace
Yeah.
into 2027. So with the waters being near record level or breaking records, if you could go back to that one image, can you zoom in on the peak amplitude of the East Pacific?
Oh, yes,
Not that
I
one,
got
the other
you.
image.
Yep, I got you.
That is actually the warmest record waters ever on record in the East Pacific. I just noticed that. So there you have it, folks. Marine heat wave from an El Nino can create big problems. We officially broke records in the East Pacific for those waters being extremely warm, which kind of falls back onto the whole world warming up in an El Nino along with climate change,
Right.
and how the waters respond to that with marine heat waves, which then, if that's the case in most basins, then that answers a question that marine heat waves are actually very common in an El Nino due to the warming and all the extreme heat that occurs around the world that causes water to warm up and transfer around the world. Which then gets me into my next point of how the East Pacific hurricane season's been doing. If the East Pacific has broken their sea surface temperature anomaly records since the beginning of recorded history.
Yeah, they have.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, to say it at least. The East Pacific has been weirdly active but null at the same time.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
So, yes.
Yeah, but it's
If
not
it's
seeming
segue-
so dull right now, Logan. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Because we actually
Mhm.
have a couple of things we need to talk about with that. We have Hurricane Fausto, which is currently heading towards Hawaii, and Tropical Storm Genevieve, that is currently developing in the Eastern Pacific off of Central America. And
You are quite right, Pat.
yeah, and this is something that we've been building up to throughout some of the night tonight. I know Trevor was especially wanting to talk about this as well. I know he's been putting out videos like crazy talking about it. So,
Yep, I have.
So Trevor, I'm gonna let you take the lead on this, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead and take it away for Fausto and Genevieve, and we'll go from there.
Well, obviously, I haven't put out a Fausto video since Hurricane Strength.
That's
I
fine.
don't do updates on it if it's strengthened again.
Sir.
Let me get something on my throat quick. The main reason why I'm bringing up Fausto real quickly is because Fausto is a is posing a threat to Hawaii as a
Yes.
weak tropical storm to what could be a almost severe tropical storm.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to how do you say it, Logan?
What's up? What are you trying to say?
Trying to
What are you asking about?
the other storm that we have,
Genevieve?
Genevieve.
Jamie. That one's just become our first major, and I think how long do we have? We're supposed to get an update from them really soon.
Yeah, we're
on
supposed
this
to get
system.
in about 40 minutes according to what we got, but they typically do it earlier in the EPAC. So
On both systems, we're supposed to get the updates, so I would keep that in mind.
yes, sir.
But it seems like this system might be the main attention for right now until the other system reaches Hawaii right now.
All right.
I'm monitoring both of them right now. I'm monitoring actually the F1 before I monitor that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna check Dapia and see if we can get a good look at it from there. We can,
Heads up, seizure warning for
Yep,
everybody in the
yep.
audience.
This is. I love this. Okay, this is. All right. Yeah, I love this website. It's been such a lifesaver. The only problem with it is that it just flashes all the time. So seizure warning to those prone to flashing lights. And of course, I don't have a little bit of a whole ledger or anything like that. But anyway, yeah, this is what we got for Genevieve right here. Definitely noticing some more convection firing off near the center of circulation as well. And a bit to the north, especially, too, as we're starting to get into away from Demon.
Earlier frames, it looked like it had a shrimp look, but now it's starting to not look like that right now.
Yeah, it's trying to reorganize, it looks like.
Let me look at what Microwave is saying.
All right.
Really close.
All right, Trevor, you go ahead and do that. But yeah, Fausto and Genevieve definitely are a couple of systems that we've been watching. Fausto mainly because of the potential impact to Hawaii. It's currently a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 105 miles per hour. So definitely that mid-range Category 2 situation over there that we're going to take a quick gander at. Taking a quick gander at the public advisory, 967 millibar pressure, moving west at 15 miles per hour. Discussion, it is expected to gradually weaken as it heads towards Hawaii, primarily due to, I believe, it's a drier environment and cooler waters. So it'll cause it to gradually weaken. Taking a look at it already in terms of what we're seeing with Fausto, it's definitely has a little bit of a degraded structure compared to what I've seen previously with this system. So definitely something to monitor, but it's not expected to hit Hawaii in the next few days. So we'll have to pay attention to it. But regardless of that, the fact that this is heading towards Hawaii, guys, you remember in an earlier Triple P show or another stream that we did that we were talking about the EPAC and we were talking about the water temperatures and the anomalies around Hawaii? You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit.
I have a feeling this is going to be put into play with Fausto over here. Yeah, matter of fact, let's look at our SSTs. Let's look at our SSTs for the Central Pacific. Looking at that. You're looking at in Hawaii water temperatures between 26 and 27 degrees Celsius. That is right on the borderline for supporting tropical / hurricane development, folks. You don't typically see this in Hawaii. This is something you do not typically see, folks. It's definitely something you're going to want to pay attention to right here. Especially as Fausto's coming through. Yes, there is a drier environment, but if convection can keep producing and we have a situation where it can keep on going, which according to the NHC it will, Hawaii's definitely going to be wanting to watch this very closely because they don't typically get tropical cyclones over there. They're over in that part of the world. Mainly because of the bad environment, but this year may not be the case as much. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and take it a little bit more seriously.
Okay, I've covered East Pac systems for about 2 years now. Hawaii has only been hit once, and that was by Kaneko, I believe, from last year.
Wait,
it got very close where Recon had to go out there, and I think I heard Recon's considering going out there for this system.
Mm-hmm.
But considering the fact that I think it was late 2010s, somewhere at the end of 2010s, they were getting hit mostly, not all the time, but
Yeah.
likely sometimes they were getting hit.
All right.
But now frequently you don't see that.
No. Yeah, I know I think the only I know Hurricane Douglas had a close brush to it back in 2020, I believe it was, or something along those lines. Definitely brought some pretty significant impacts to the state. I remember them covering it
close
pretty
was Dora?
extensively at that point.
How about Dora from 2023?
I was just about to bring that up. I'm
Yeah,
gonna look
Dora
at
in
it.
2023. It didn't directly impact Hawaii. It was very much further to the south, but it indirectly impacted Hawaii because it was also because the pressure gradient that and the high pressure system north of the islands caused, basically it caused a huge amount of winds to whip across much of the area, and it took one single spark for all hell to break loose, and that is how we got the Maui fires. Hurricane Dora and that Pacific high pressure system was what greatly contributed to the Maui fires and why they were so destructive back in 2023. So I just thought I'd bring that up, and I thought I'd talk about that for a second. So it didn't directly.
Hey, Pat,
Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt, but I'm probably going to head off and enjoy and meditate out here and watch the beautiful sunset.
That's fine.
But it was
Yeah, you're good.
really nice being part of the show.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate
All
you
right,
for
brother.
Glad
coming
to
on.
have you, David.
Yeah.
It was nice
Another
having you
Hold
too,
on.
David.
Let David finish. Let David finish.
So yeah, all I just said thank you, Pat, for having me on. It was great. It was exciting. Hopefully it won't be so hot in my room, but I'm sure it's going to be hot from here on out as we discuss about the heat waves that we're going to be dealing with. So
Yes.
that's why I'm doing mainly my videos in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's much cooler in my room, like at 2 or 3 in the morning. It's usually in the 70s, as opposed to 95, maybe even 100 during the day in the afternoon.
Right.
All right, but anyways, it was nice talking to you all. I might be on Discord later on this evening once it gets cooler in my room.
All right, David. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful evening, and we will see you later.
All right,
Thank
see
you
ya.
for joining
All right.
us, and have a nice night, David.
Yep. All right,
Have
David.
a nice night.
Have a
Hey,
nice night,
David.
dude. All right. All right, Delta. What did you want to say, or what did you want to say?
That was me.
Oh, that was you, Trevor. All right, Trevor. Go. What's up?
So another system from 23. I think most people would remember this. It was our third named storm of the East Pacific of 2023. That actually made an impact to Hawaii, where they issued tropical storm warnings and watches for them.
Ah. Yeah. What was the name on that again? I'm trying to think because. Yeah. Let me see.
I think it was. Let me look. I have analogs of it.
Let me see. Okay, I'm looking at it. Was Calvin. It was Hurricane Calvin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Calvin. That one
yeah,
was the one that hit.
Yep, that
That
was
hit
just
Hawaii.
south of the Big Island. So, but yeah, thank you very much for that, Trevor. All right, is there anything else that we want to go over with Fausto or Genevieve right now?
I would like to go over the rapid intensification aspect to Genevieve a little bit, and when
That's
I finish
fine.
with my thoughts, I'd like to have Delta show the ship's model to you,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
you can show that to the audience.
We
But
can
first
definitely do
things
that.
first, the NHC has been noting at likely rapid intensification on Genevieve.
Mhm.
The very first advisory that came out, they expected this thing to be a 115 mile an hour major hurricane, actually, by the way. And I should also rephrase something from earlier too. The East Pacific was null until we got to Fausto, because everything else was kind of a low end tropical storm until Fausto decided to emerge and say potential impacts for Hawaii, and Genevieve potentially very strong hurricane on her hands in the very near future. And something I've been noticing too is that it's expected to turn north. So I'm wondering if this is like a Baja California kind of impact event, which I am not saying. I'm only saying if it's possible because I noticed the ship's model had it turning north before land, so kind of different from the NHC's cone per se. But it's just something worth noting and bringing up because it's just unsure of the path on that.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, Delta, thank you. I see that. Anyways, getting back to the point here, they mentioned that the shear is supposed to be very low, moisture is supposed to be very prominent and favorable. So that has me wondering, like, the storm has so much potential, but the thing is, will this storm use that potential? Because the more these storms use the potential and go out to sea, the better, because that means that the East Pacific will have less impacts over the Atlantic because this is something that we actually seen last year that I actually talked about a little bit with Tristan
Yeah.
about sea surface temperatures in the East Pacific being warmer than the Atlantic, causing some shear per se. So that's the one thing. But yeah, my thought process is if that reduces that, then chances are less impacts to land, maybe because earlier on in the season, these storms like to go more out to sea. So if they can use up all that warm water, then less impacts for the Mexican coast because El Nino years are notoriously known for bringing havoc to the East Pacific. You got Otis, 2023,
Yes.
Patricia, 2015. You got so many other examples that it's just
Seizure
insane,
warning.
realistically. Yes, seizure warning for everybody in chat. And also, this organization this early on in its life tells me that this thing is going to try and do something kind of crazy because you didn't even see that with your strong typhoons in the West Pacific, which I won't be getting into those. But the fact that you're seeing convection starting to blow up over the center and convection being fed into the system slowly from the west now and more popping up on the northwest tells me that this has a very vast potential. And just the fact that we're seeing potentially a strong major hurricane this early on in the season is a huge hello from the East Pacific from basically being, I'd say, just name spam, as I call it, kind of like a 2020 did, a bunch of name spam for the first half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Because up until Foster, which is our seventh named storm, we didn't have any hurricanes
Yeah.
at all. Currently, our record is 8-1 zip, which is kind of rough overall, if I'm honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that record is about to probably become more of a active hurricane, a major hurricane weighted season, kind of like how 2025 was for the Atlantic per se,
Yeah.
in activity, which I actually noted that in my forecast for the East Pacific, lots of hurricanes are possible. So with that in mind, my thing is how strong could Genevieve get under these this environmental condition? Because the East Pacific, like mentioned earlier, is at the warmest point in the year, and what will that do going forward?
Right.
Mhm.
All right, Delta. We got
Any of you guys got thoughts?
Oh. Um. Okay. All right. All right. Delta brought up the ship's forecast once again for this system. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Let's go ahead and get started, Delta. What is it? We have it pulled up. What is it you want? Is there anything in particular you would like to go over with this?
With our Genevieve is
Yes.
Genevieve. It's the percentages are really high. I haven't seen percentages like this since Beryl and Milton.
Wow.
When it comes to your rapid intensification probabilities, like 60% chance, 25 knots, and it's already. What's the current intensity? Can you
It's already
scroll up a
it's
little
at
bit?
45 miles per hour.
Okay, 25 knots. So that's almost borderline hurricane in just 24 hours, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But also the fact that these numbers are also high, even going further out in the time, like 45 knots in 36 hours is 62%.
Yeah.
And And if we look at the forecast conditions that the model uses, the shear is relatively light. The highest it sees is 21 knots, which I think is overdoing it a little bit. Humidity's fine. Ocean heat potential, the max. So they're forecasting 120 knots for a maximum intensity
Yeah.
potential.
Wow. And it's already, and it's at 40 knots right now. So that's definitely interesting to say the very least. That is it's 140 miles an hour as your potential max intensity with this system. Yeah. Yeah, looking at your wind shear too, it remains relatively consistent. It peaks a little bit at 12 to 18 hours, but after that, it stays relatively consistent. Your ocean heat content, there's a bit of a spike 60 hours out, but that's about it. So, yeah.
Get him, Larry.
What's up, Delta?
Nothing. I got background noise.
Oh, okay.
Tonight.
All right, cool. So, yeah. Is there anything else?
I think that is everything. And with the closing out, thought I do gotta say, all of this has led to one question about this year: is how much is the El Nino going to impact global patterns? We've talked all the way through the heat waves, the marine heat waves,
Yes.
atmospheric responses, how the heat impacts the waters, and how the waters impacts tropical systems, and all. So that just leads to the one cliffhanger per se: is how will the East Pacific, the Atlantic, and the whole world react with the El Nino response and warming of the waters and more activity in the basins, plus just your weather patterns and potential records being broken. So with that, it's all just been, as I've been telling everybody, hell on earth. That is basically what today's triple P. That is what today's triple P number 7 is alternatively known as, hell on earth.
Yeah, I might put that in the.
So with
I might
that-
put that in the highlights for sure.
Yes, I definitely would.
Yeah.
And that leads to the answer of El Nino does seem to be very much like a it acts like a blowtorch to the earth, basically. The waters, the atmosphere, everything. And then it just is unexpectedly scary when you think about it, which is
Right.
why I kind of discussed this topic with you behind the scenes, Pat, and
Mhm.
everybody else too, who can back me up on this in a second.
Yeah.
With all that in mind, wouldn't you agree, Pat, that the El Nino acts like a blowtorch, and basically it's like Hell's Kitchen or Hell on Earth?
It's on many metrics, I'd agree, yes, but it also increases your
Mhm.
water vapor as well because of the evaporation. So, yeah, make of that as you will, but in some parts of the world, you'll see more extreme weather, and in other parts of the world, maybe not so much due to other atmospheric conditions, but it's all stuff we'll have to pay attention to for sure. But I could definitely get behind it to some degree. So, yeah. But yeah, for sure. Anybody else?
Yeah. Serge, I just wanted to comment on what you said about the Eastern Pacific. This is gearing up to be I know it may not seem like much, but I feel like this is gearing to be a late season yeah.
Very
It's gonna go
bottom
crazy.
heavy
Kind of
season,
a
basically.
backloaded season, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
There we
what I
go.
was thinking of. Yes. I agree with LT, and that's what my thoughts have been too, actually, because normally the East Pacific really ramps up in the second half of the season. So, LT, your thoughts are correct based on climatology alone. Now that now that's got to answer another question: is how will that react with El Nino this year? Because so far the water temperatures are record warm for this time of the year and have been unseen, are extremely unprecedented, dangerous, life-threatening, and unexpected, and causing global pattern changes all across the world.
Yes.
Which everything has been tonight on the El Nino or hell on earth, as they've been calling it, how will that impact the people of the world? More to find out with the El Nino for sure.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, just another thing I just noticed while looking at this satellite, you can actually see the ground heating underneath our high pressure on infrared. See how it's darker all over the western.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the infrared, it's kind of like how sometimes when the Great Lakes is so cold, like you have that huge cold burst or
Yeah.
snap, that the infrared was showing it almost looked like precipitation because the ground was so cold that it was as cold as cloud tops were.
All right. That's definitely something interesting to note for sure. I'm noticing that darkening on infrared too. We'll have to watch out for it. But thanks for letting me know about that, Delta. All right. Is there any other final thoughts we got? No? All right. In that case, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for once again joining the Triple P show. It means, it means a lot that you guys came on here tonight as well. Thank you to our guests that came on. We didn't have a guest on tonight. Our big guest on Weather Kingdom. He was supposed to come on. He was slated to come on the show, but he had something come up last minute, so we decided to have a little bit of a topic show for tonight. So that way we had something for you guys, and you guys definitely seem to have appreciated it tonight too. So thank you for that. Be sure to like and subscribe if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. We're gonna do our best to get Weather Kingdom on the next Triple P show and a few other things as well. But
we have a rain check on that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll be sure to rain check that for you guys in the audience for those who want to see Weather Kingdom on the stream. I've appeared on his show on quite a few occasions.
So I want him to come on mine once again. He's been on a past one before, but I wanted to kind of get you guys to know him a little bit better as well. So that way we can, it has a more personalized experience with this stream. But yeah, that's what we had for tonight. Thank you all for joining. It means a lot. I know I keep repeating myself, but hey, it's okay.
We are honored.
Of course, yeah. So, yeah, and just when I started this show, I didn't know how it was going to go, and I'm proud to say that we're on the right track and things are definitely going at the rate it's going. And for that, I applaud everybody that's been watching, everybody that's been in the show, helping behind the scenes, and here tonight. So, yeah, we were able to get something cobbled up together, and I'm really excited to see how things go. But until we'll have our next Triple P show next Friday. At least next Friday. Actually, my work schedule. We might have two. Would you guys be? I'm trying to think. If we did it early enough, would you guys want to do it? Do another Triple P show Wednesday night.
What time?
Around 8-7 Central.
That works. Maybe 8:30, depending on lifting.
Yeah.
I'd say 8:30 is a good window.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll either be at 8 or 8:30. But yeah, we'll have our next Triple P show. We'll have two Triple P shows next week. One will be on Wednesday, and one of them will be on Friday. So that way we can both have guests as well as have some fun with it as well. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close it out here. Thank you for joining tonight.
We thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining, guys.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow for more. Be sure to go to Storms United on Discord.
Yep,
Be sure to follow Storms United on
chat.
Instagram.
Yep.
And not to mention Storms United on Twitter/X.
Oh, we're getting there.
Storms X United.
We're getting there. All right.
We're excited to sit down and talk with y'all, and we want to know more. And maybe someday, if you guys ever want to be on the Triple P show, and there's a form that Pat has for everybody out there who wants to go on the show. We are honored to have more guests.
Yeah, and just to be clear,
hang out with.
Yeah, just to be clear, if you have a Twitter or a Discord handle that we can contact you with, just send that in in the replies in that way, so that way we can find out who you are and contact you and all that. Yeah.
We just got an update out of the West Pacific. Category 4 expected now.
For Genevieve?
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is when you hit the home run in the 9th inning with 2 outs. And yeah, good things always happen with that. Like we literally just hit a home run because we do have a new advisory. We have our new advisory here. With Genevieve, 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm, 1,000 millibar system, west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. Forecast to strengthen into a major hurricane over the next couple of days. Yep, 1:30 in 72 hours. Category 4 hurricane, closer to those max intensities we saw on the ship's guidance. So, yep, and this is what the NHC says. It is expected to be in the near ideal environment for conducive for rapid intensification. This is the NHC, folks. If the NHC is saying it, you're going to need to take it seriously. So, yeah. All right. Okay. And then on top of that, we have. On top of that, interestingly, the HCCA and the Google DeepMind Ensemble, which is proven to have some of the best recent skill in intensity forecasting, are in the upper and lower bounds of intensity guidance. HCCA peaks at 130, Google DeepMind at 100. They've nudged it in between the same, around, in the middle of that. So definitely an interesting situation to pay attention to in terms of what we have with Fausto. I think, did they put out the advisory for that? It looks like,
it's the same.
Yes, they did. It's the same situation.
It's the same intensity.
Yeah, let's look at the cone real quickly before we go.
967 millibars.
Yeah. Yep. Let's look at the discussion for our intensity.
That's north of Hawaii now.
50 to 40 miles per hour.
Hawaii now. Wow.
Yep. All right. All right. Well, we got that. So, we went over those advisories real quickly. Yeah, I can't complain too much about that coming out. So, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are going to end the stream. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful night. Like and subscribe if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.
And be sure to come back.